Hello everyone, and welcome to the NCSY Weekly Dvar Torah. My name is Rabbi Ari Goldberg, and I am the City Director for Pittsburgh NCSY, part of the Great Central East Region, or Big East Region. You may notice that I am still wearing my Kansas City Royals baseball cap. You may ask why? Well, myself, as well as my wife, we are both from Kansas City and proud Kansas City sports fans. That includes the Kansas City Royals. And I've been able to pass down this tradition, like many traditions of mine, to my children who also, although we live in Pittsburgh, are still proud fans of the Kansas City Royals. And in case you've been living under a rock recently, you may not be aware, but the Kansas City Royals won the World Series. Now, you might say, why is that such a big deal? Well, the answer is, it has been 30 years since the last time the Kansas City Royals won a World Series. That means, for most of my childhood, basically all of my childhood and adult life, the Kansas City Royals were not just a team that wasn't winning the World Series, they were in fact the seller. The worst team in Major League Baseball, accumulating more losses than any other team during that span of time. And that is why it is so incredible that just a week and a half ago, the Kansas City Royals won the World Series. Now, why is this part of the weekly Dvar Torah for NCSY? Well, it ties in very well with the story that we see at the beginning of this week's Parsha, Parshat Toldot. In this week's Parsha, we are introduced to Yaakov and Esav, the children of Yitzchak and Rivka. Yaakov, who will become one of the patriarchs of the Jewish people, and indeed the father of the 12 tribes themselves, and Esav, who will be his arch nemesis, his enemy, and someone who stands opposed to the Jewish people for all of eternity. In this week's Parsha, we are told of a story where Yaakov is cooking a bowl of stew. And Esav comes home from the field after a long day of hunting, and he is tired and weary, and he is hungry. And he sees his brother Yaakov cooking this delicious stew that smells so good. And Esav turns to his brother Yaakov and says, Haliteni na min ha'adom hazeh, ki ayef anochi. Literally translated, pour for me into my mouth this red stew that you are cooking, for I am tired. And Yaakov sees an opportunity and says to his brother Esav, if you want the stew, if this bowl of stew means so much to you, then please sell me your firstborn right, your birthright, that which makes you the firstborn of our father Yitzchak. Sell it to me in exchange for this bowl of stew. And Esav makes a quick calculation in his head, and he decides to go ahead with this sale. And indeed, he trades his birthright, his firstborn right, to Yaakov in exchange for a bowl of lentils. Yes, lentils. Yaakov was taking the birthright from Esav for a bowl of stew. Now, what was this calculation that Esav made in order to determine that this was a worthwhile trade for him? He said to himself, here I find myself very hungry, and what do I need this birthright for anyways? I'm going to die, and what benefit will I really have from the firstborn right of being the firstborn son of Yitzchak? I'm hungry now. I want to eat the lentils now. I will trade them for the birthright. And what we see is that Esav is giving up something that really has not only tremendous spiritual value, being the firstborn heir of Yitzchak, but also significant monetary value, financial value to him to be the firstborn inheritor of what will be his father's fortune. But instead, he decides to trade all of that away because he's hungry now. What we learn from this, what Esav lacked, is his ability to look to the future, to understand that you need to plan today for what you will ultimately need in the future. You need to put in the effort now in order to make sure that what you will have down the road will be worthwhile. Esav missed this point. And really, this is why I was telling you about the Kansas City Royals' recent victory in the World Series. Because for so many years, literally decades, they occupied the basement and were the embarrassment of Major League Baseball. But in early 2000, They hired a new general manager who told the city, follow my instructions, listen to my plan, and yes, we will continue to be bad for several years to come. But what we will be doing is putting in the effort and building the foundation for what will be a young, solid team that will be able to carry us to victory in the future. And at first, people did not believe him. People would still go to the games and laugh at the product that was being put out on the field. But slowly but surely, they were accumulating the pieces that they would need that would ultimately become a World Series championship team. And that is what we are being taught here by Esav's decision. Esav lacked that ability to lay the foundation, to put in the effort and forego what might be an immediate pleasure, an immediate desire that would satisfy our desires right now. Forego that in order to plant the seeds for what will be needed in the future. Yaakov, realizing this opportunity, understanding that his brother had missed out on this critical moment in his future, Yaakov seized this opportunity and planned instead for his own future. And that is what the Torah instructs us to do on so many different occasions. And really that is one of the messages of what NCSY is all about. As teenagers, you will be confronted with many, many opportunities for immediate gratification, to take a pleasure now that might sacrifice something great in the future. And the natural tendency is to think, who really cares? I'm young now. I only live once anyways. Might as well get it in now. But that's what the Torah tells us. Forgo now what might appear to be a great pleasure in order to achieve something even greater down the road. That is a message of maturity, and that is the message the Torah has taught us through this story of Yaakov and Esav, and that is indeed what the Kansas City Royals have taught me and my children. As God willing, we look forward to many years of Kansas City Royals championship baseball and seizing opportunities to plant and plan for our future. Have a wonderful week and Shabbat Shalom.